Hello everyone, this is Doc. I'm here again on this time season 4. Well, going into season 4, I'm in Bag End. Kind of wanted to give everyone a little tutorial of the Bag End area. And today I want to show you Gandalf the Grey, since Gandalf the Grey is primarily the best commander to start a season with, especially playing as good. So, first things first, little tutorial of Bag End. This is the Bag End is what happens at the end of season 3. Your account goes into this status where it stays until you register for a new campaign. So first thing about Bag End that you notice is that you still have all the different events up here in the right hand corner that can have that you can still participate in. You still can purchase gems, you still can purchase packs, so all of that is still available. You down here on the right, you have your Matham, so that you can still purchase and cash in every day. You can do your daily free Matham. Right here you have your commanders. In your commander section, you'll notice that your commanders are all level 50 in Bag End. They're just shown that way so you can set them up, look at the gear, make adjustments. I think it's just a tool to use for your enjoyment. And then also all your gear is included in Bag End. So you have all your gear and you can look through that and kind of make some planning going into your next season. But I guess one of the most important things about Bag End is really the campaign. In the campaign piece, so if you click campaign here, looks like right away we have two options. From my understanding of reading, we're going to have more options as they release more content, but this is where it's, at the end of every season you'll come back to and be able to register for a new campaign. The two campaigns that are available are Rebuilding Glory and the War of the Ring. Rebuilding Glory, from my understanding, is basically a repeat of season 3. It kind of explains it here, what it is. You can kind of go into it, talks about the control points, the United Faction feature. You still battle for the ring. There's still the reconstruction and those pieces that you were doing. But really what's exciting about season 4 is the War of the Ring. At least that's what I'm excited about. So under the War of the Ring here, this section is where you have the campaign where it's basically good versus evil, and in that campaign we're going to be following the ring bearers and basically supporting them on their quest. So I'll be really interested to see how this season kind of plays out. I watched some videos, but videos don't really show you everything. So that's kind of what it is. So obviously, as you can see, I'm registered for the War of the Ring. When you come into your campaigns, when you decide you want to join a campaign, you just go to campaign, you go to your registration, and then you pick a team list. You can join as part of a team, as a group that you want, or you can individually join. Obviously, I joined as part of a team. So basically, once you figure out your team and you guys have coordinated together, through your friends where you want to be, you can have someone create a team. You enter the team ID number, and then from there, you just can request in. As you can see here, I'm with the War of the Ring. This is the Eat Good Side group. We are going to jump right in, and that'll be exciting. So that's something that we're going to be joining. As you notice, this registration ends in 12 hours, but the actual game doesn't start for that until 5/5/2022 at 04 UTC. So just something to think about, and it'll direct where you want to play and how you want to play. It's kind of cool. Once you do enter a campaign, I do have a little tip here. You pick it, you have to request. I don't want to click it because I'm already registered, but you kind of have to request multiple times. And I always say spam those requests, especially if you're going as good. It's a queue system, and it just kind of requires It's a first come, first serve type thing, and I think it works best if you spam the requests. So it worked. I was able to get in to our group, and once you're in, you have a couple of different chats that are available. Obviously, the world chat is available, as you can see, and then there's team chat available as well, where you can have a discussion on the plans for the upcoming season. You can theorize on commanders. You can have conversations. It's a really good space to talk. So some of the other things that I noticed that I didn't mention here in the bag in is up here on the top left by your gem count is the end of campaign rewards that you can still cash in on. You have a store that you can purchase rewards. You see I have 550 rewards left. I could always go in and purchase something if I chose, or I could hold on to them and save them for the future if I choose that direction as well. Also in the bag in, you can still recruit commanders, and under your commander feature, you can add respect. So let's go in here and let's go to him. And if I wanted to add respect, I could add respect to him, and respect him up, and go and do that if I choose. So that's basically what bag in is. You'll stay in bag in until you register for a campaign, and then at the end of each campaign, you'll return to bag in to regroup and or wait. So it's a kind of cool feature because you'll be able to take seasons off if you choose. For example, say I didn't want to play this season and I needed a couple months off, I could wait, take a couple months off, and then return back with the same group after they come back out of bag in or back into bag in. So we'll see how it works, but I like the feature. I think it's really cool. So moving forward, I do want to talk about today Gandalf the Grey. So I get a lot of questions about Gandalf the Grey. It's partly because my Gandalf the Grey that I use in my Season 3 account seems to do really, really well. He has he's not crazy high respect. He's only respect level 11, but he does seem to perform well. I'm not, part of it's the way you set up, part of it's also how you use him. Gandalf the Grey is not a high damage commander. He is a healing, he's got mostly heals and mitigation that go with him, and you have to remember that when you go in how you use him. So one thing I do want to talk about is basically, starting your season with Gandalf the Grey. Those people that going into season 1, they don't know a lot, but season 2, he really becomes functional at the beginning of the season 3, season 4, and so on and so forth. So, a lot of questions that I get are, where do you put your points first? I've actually have him reset right here so I can allocate points and show you kind of step by step how I go along with Gandalf the Grey. So as you can see here, I'm respect level 11, so I'll show you kind of what a respect level 5 would look like, and then or 3, and what I would do. But as I come in, the first points that I would ever put into Gandalf the Grey is right here under the gray. I think that's the most important piece about getting that ready to start your healing right away. I think that's really important. So I immediately start unlocking that, and as soon as I get some points in that, you want to go into this, at least 1 point into this stun. The stun is a good CC, it's a good mitigation piece, and you need to get 1 point in it right away, and then you can go right back to the gray. Some of the other things that you want to consider is, once you get 4 points in here, you need to look at how do you trigger the gray fast enough. So as you can see, I only have 5 total points put in. I would immediately jump over here and add a couple points here, and that's so I can get this Covenor skill triggered. This Covenor skill wants to trigger right away, and that's so really it's this follow-up that you get. It initiates 2 attacks during this round. So if you get 2 attacks that happen and the Covenor procs, it'll trigger multiple instances of the gray. When we talk about his gear later on, we consider about what kind of gear will add additional procs to the gray effect to have the most effect. So obviously going right here into this is, in my opinion, really, really quick priority. You know, these are where your points should go first. You know, get this Covenor skill procking right away. I think that's really, as I start leveling, that's where I would focus almost every one of my points. You know, what you could do as well is, you know, you could add a point here to your stun. It's an additional stun. So right here, you have this stun right here, that's blindside, which happens on round 2. And you could put another point in here, which adds another stun for, you know, and this is like every round it has potential to stun, or which is a nice benefit. If you had 2 points in there, and then another point right here to surge, now you're doing surge is proccing multiple targets, which again is back to trying to get that gray skill to trigger. So looking at this, you know, we only have 3, 7, 16, 17, we have 21 points that have been used up here, and that's still a pretty solid build before we really even get into anything else. The first thing I would max out is I would max out this right down here and get the highest amount of procs on your Covenor that you can start building up. And then from there, you can consider bumping up your gray a little bit more, max that out. So, you know, looking at this build right here, we haven't even started using the respect level 5 benefits, which is interesting because there's a lot of good benefits that Gandalf the Grey has in respect level 3. You could do really well with him on respect level 3. Where respect level 5 comes into benefit for Gandalf the Grey is going against specifically evil. That's really where Gandalf the Grey excels in that world. So the next points that obviously you're going to consider after you get all of these kind of set up this way is going right into that respect level 5. And I look at White Cancel, and what White Cancel does is it's just a straight damage mitigation. It reduces the amount of damage received, and it also takes the your focus level, how much gear you have and level you have with your focus, and it it actually increases that percentage based off of a formula. So right here, I would bump that right up to respect level 15 pretty quickly. And there we have it. The max level effect is it comes into effect one more time, not just 3 times, but now it's 4 times, which is really, really nice benefit. Once you're to this point, remember I was respect level 11. My Gandalf the Grey is right here. As you can see, I'm respect level 11. So if you have a respect level 5 Gandalf the Grey, which by season 2, for someone that really doesn't put a lot of money into the game, is very easily achieved. Now that's only 6 points extra that I have here, so I'm going to level this up minus basically 6 points for that. So I have 8 more points to put somewhere. This is where it kind of becomes, after you get all these points in, this is where it becomes play style and choice. Some of the things that I recommend doing is if you're going to be fighting evil, and you're going to be fighting evil, High Alert is a really great skill that you need to really consider. Most of the evil damage is done through burn damage, which is something to consider. The other side of this is if you are going to be doing a lot of tile taking up forth, right away, it's something to consider. Is adding some damage, especially starting out as good, adding some damage to orcs, Uruk-hai, and trolls. And that helps you take some of these higher level tiles, such as getting that 200 earlier, or that 230 earlier, or even that 300 earlier, and it allows you to level up quicker. So that's something to consider. The other thing to consider is, you have 2 options here. And this is kind of where it goes into play if I was going to build this out. Basically, if I was going to make a recommendation on you're not really fighting evil, you're kind of just using it as a standard damage mitigation commander, you have 2 choices. You can either use fleeting movements, which is just a straight evasion, which reduces the damage to two allied units, but that only happens really a few times during the fight. Or you can do this free people skill, especially if you're good and you know that you're going to use like men or dwarves or hobbits. If you're going to be on a normal server and you're going to have alchemists or corsairs that you're going to be using with your Gandalf the Grey, obviously you wouldn't choose this skill. But if you're going to use this skill as a purely good commander, this is something to consider. So, it's kind of the way that you play. Overall, I do think that fleeting movements does reduce more damage if you proc, if it works out that way. But it's a little bit of it has a little bit of randomness with it too. I know that me personally, when I use this as good, I will go with free peoples because I like more consistency in my play. However, if I am I'm going to play on a normal server where I have some mixed units that I'm going to be using fleeting movements. Thinking about Season 4 and actually my S1 account going into Season 2, I think where I'll probably put most of my points right away is I'll probably avoid both of these, and I'll probably try to max out my Champion of Light to take tiles with. I think that there's plenty of damage mitigation here, but Champion of Light, that's 28% increase on tile taking. It helps me get that next step, especially those 230s early on and those 260s early on are really important, especially when you're doing your leveling your commanders. I would probably put any extra points in like High Alert or something like that because, again, the tile taking commanders typically run a lot of burn damage unless you're in an evil area. So that's kind of my recommendation. But your standard build for PvP, which is what most people are going to be going, if you're playing against good, my recommendation would probably go this free peoples. I would do free peoples, get the most mitigation, and that's basically respect level 6 right there. I have one more, or this respect level 5, so I have one more point to get that I could get for respect level 5. I would probably, depending if I'm fighting evil or if I'm not fighting evil at all, and I know I'm fighting, for example, like Erebor or something like that, and I'm fighting a good faction, maybe putting some fleeting movements, but most of the time I'm fighting evil. So especially Season 4, I'll be fighting evil. That's kind of the standard build that I'd be running if I was respect level 5 with my commander. As obviously me being respect level 11, I'm going to bump that up. I'm going to max out my burn and poison damage received, reduction, and that makes a big difference. So that's kind of how I have it set up. This is a recommendation. The areas that you have to consider are obviously Champion of Light, and you can also make considerations in fleeting movements. I think they both are good considerations. Obviously, fleeting movements has some straight counters. If you have they have pursuit, a pursuit trinket or accessory, that's going to counter fleeting movements and kind of basically take it off the table. Straight damage mitigation isn't really, there's no counter to that. That just gives you, baseline damage mitigation no matter the way it is received. So that's kind of nice. So I guess this kind of explains the different parts of Gandalf the Grey and how to use his skill tree and what he benefits and how he works best. So jumping right in to, now that we moved from his skill tree, I'm going to talk about gear. So I think one of the most important parts about the gear when you have your consideration is, again, how you're going to use him. But you also have to consider, the traits that you have put in place. One of the first things that we always have to consider with Gandalf the Grey is the weapon. His weapon that I have is a Blazing Tongue. And I know most people aren't going to have a 4-star Blazing Tongue out there. And really the base stats are not that great for Blazing Tongue. However, I really, really like the fact that it procs 50% of the time of adding burn damage. And burn damage is not something that a lot of good have towards evil, so they don't really prepare for that, which is nice. So I do put it on here. The alternative that I would recommend, if for someone, is right here, getting a cutlass blade that's got that chance to proc the 86% focus damage. It's not really about the damage per se. I know this has got more damage percent than the Blazing Tongue, but the Blazing Tongue has a higher percent chance to proc, which means more healing, which means more chances to proc that gray effect that Gandalf the Grey has. The other thing, if you don't want to use the cutlass, you can use a carver. Right here. Here's the carver I would use. Again, it's got might, it's focus. Actually, I would argue that the carver is a little bit better than the cutlass is, but it all depends. This is army attack, melee, and commander speed. This has got focus, which is better for Gandalf the Grey, and it's got army attack for men. So if you use a lot of men, the carver might be better. However, if you're using straight melee troops, the melee may be better with the cutlass. So it really, again, is on how you're planning on building your commander and what you're planning on doing with them. So it's just something to consider. So that's basically the setup with his weapon. Chest piece wise, I am running quilted armor, and it's just straight because it's got high focus. The 12 focus plus the attunement of 18 focus. Mine's fully refined. The whole entire concept behind that is I just want to add and dump as much focus in Gandalf the Grey to have the greater healing effect right off the bat. So that's my whole entire thought process behind that. You could put some, if you had a burn resist chest, or you had something that maybe some focus protection would be nice. Those are good chests to also throw in there. You really aren't going to go wrong with either of those. The bone mask, go out of this part and just go into my items here. So bone mask is his helmet, and I would say it's one of my favorite helmets. I currently have him as just straight damage mitigation. It's got the might, the focus, and the army HP, and the damage mitigation. However, I kind of wish I would have refined and got something with the hysteria. I like the idea of being able to inflict madness, especially on someone they're not expecting madness on. The maxed out skills for that is 100% chance to inflict madness every 2 rounds. That's really strong. I just, didn't have the best of luck with that. I wouldn't probably put into focus damage dealt. I wouldn't put into burn damage dealt. I think your choice, if you're going to go with this helm, would be Manipulate or Hysteria are your 2 best choices, specifically for this helm. Let's go back to Gandalf here. Here we go. Whoops. Going into your accessories, there's a lot of different accessories you can use. I'm using his worn out smoking pipe. The gold pipe's out there. The gold pipe fully refined. It's got a lot of focus on it. It's really nice. I just, felt the investment in the gold pipe the purple pipe is a little bit better. This allows, it's just got 45 focus, straight focus, which is great. And it's got the healing based off of your focus stat. Also great, You could definitely consider using the rope. That would definitely be not a terrible choice. It doesn't have as much focus, but it's got a little better heal, maybe. You could also consider using a Hobbit Fiddle, depending on how you use your Gandalf the Grey. That's something that you definitely can consider. You also can, I wouldn't go with a harp, but you could definitely go with a belt if you chose. There's a lot of different things that you can use and be successful with him. The one thing I do say is just, look at your secondary traits and what's available, and think about how you're using them. Obviously, the belt with the more allied units recovery would be really good. The range units recovery, even the Iron Guard melee units recovery would be really good. I think those are all really good. When I'm playing good side, my Gandalf the Grey, I like to build with Cataphracts, Bow Knights, Cavaliers. Those are all 3, or a tier 4 if you're playing as Erebor. Their tier 4 is great with Gandalf. The tier 4 of Rohan is great with Gandalf. You could also consider running some guardians, dwarf guardians, with the burn resist if you're playing against evil and you know there's a bunch of witch kings. You can run guardians and some bow knights, because most witch kings are running trolls and alchemists, so you're basically countering their trolls with the bow knights, and the alchemists you're soaking damage with the guardians, and you're running some, you could be running more of your burn resist. So Gandalf the Grey is really nice, not because he's really great at one thing. He's really nice because he's really great at a lot of things. So one of the things that I spend a lot of time each season doing is resetting his talents to make him fit my current scenario. And I guess you can't really do that unless you understand exactly what each talent does and how to use it in battles. So one thing I would recommend is do a lot of research, understand the fight you're going into, understand what you think that they're going to bring to the table against you, especially if you're fighting, you're fighting evil. They're going to come at you with a lot of witch kings. They're going to come at you probably with some madness. So thinking about maybe a madness immunity helmet. Those are all good things that you can consider. But Gandalf the Grey is, probably one of the best counters in the game for the Witch King. But especially if you run Guardians, and you can run, you can definitely look your you can run High Alert. You can even do Champion of Light if you wanted to. There's just a lot of really good benefits. So as he levels up and I get more respect with him, right off the bat, I'll be probably considering putting the next 7 points either in Champion of Light, or I would come down here and put it into Fleeting Movements. I probably would do Champion of Light because I like that extra damage, just who I am. So that's kind of my recommendation on Gandalf the Grey. I hope that you guys got something out of this. I hope if you have any questions, please feel free to ask me at any given time. And I wish you the best of luck, and hopefully I see you out there on Season 2, which I'm going to be moving into in the next few weeks, or Season 4 with our Fellowship Yeet. Hopefully we have a good time on Season 4 on good side. So thanks again for watching. Please subscribe and like my videos. It really helps out, and I appreciate it. And I'll talk to you guys later. Thanks. Bye-bye.